In half an hour, we're back in Emmerdale. Right after Tonight looks into the truth about British workers.
Tonight, how well do you work?
We're very good at filling our time and looking very busy, but actually not being very productive.
Could you do your job in 6 hours?
I can't imagine the concept of a 6-hour day, if I'm honest.
Is working fewer hours a week the answer to a more efficient nation?
The intention was not to create a cool workplace, it was to create a great workplace where people can be productive.
Good evening and welcome to the Tonight programme. If you've just got in from a hard day's work, how productive do you think you've been? Figures suggest British workers are some of the least productive of the G7 group of top economies, behind their French and Italian counterparts. So how should Britain up its game, both on a national scale and in our own working lives? Richard Edgar investigates if we're a nation of shirkers or workers.
Every day in Britain, 31 million of us put in the hard graft at work. Those of us in full-time jobs are notching up more hours a week than almost anyone else in the developed world. And yet something is going wrong. We're not as productive as we used to be.
Productivity isn't just about working hard, it's about how efficient we and the machines that we use are. The more we produce every hour that we work, the more living standards can rise, the economy can grow sustainably. It's no exaggeration to say the more productive we are, the more content we can be.
Here in Cornwall, there's evidence all around of a rich history of industry and of productivity. It's 9 o'clock Monday morning, and staff at this holiday home business near Newquay are back at work.
We have a few available for this weekend. Let me just have a look for you.
But this is no ordinary Monday. The team's week is about to be turned upside down.
Whereabouts are you looking for?
This growing business is in the hospitality industry, otherwise known for low levels of productivity. Graham Allcott, an expert on the matter, is visiting Unique Homestays to see if they can revolutionise what they do.
Hi, Sarah. Great.
The challenge, can they be more productive?
Productivity is about doing things efficiently and effectively, cutting out waste, and really focusing on getting the best possible outcome that we can.
And that's vital. If we were more productive, we should see it in our pay packet. But we're not.
Productivity is a massive issue for Britain. We are the second lowest on productivity in the G7. Britain, at times in its history, has been one of the most productive places in the world, and it's time that we get Britain back on top.
This is the office.
Lots of factors affect productivity at a national level. But what can we do as individuals to improve things? With Graham's expertise to hand, Tonight is challenging the team to adopt 7 rules for a week that could work for any of us. The aim is to focus on the job and cut out time gossiping over a coffee or on social media.
So we're going to set you guys a number of challenges over the coming week. It's all going to be...
Oddly, working long hours can mean being less productive as we tire. So this team will have just 6 hours a day to get their work done. This means no scheduled lunch hour and shorter breaks, but the same pay. Graham says it's about working smarter, not harder.
Who is interested in the idea of work-life balance and being able to relax at the end of the day?
The team will also experiment with techniques that Graham teaches to businesses up and down the country. They include frequent 5-minute breaks to sharpen focus, stand-up working to invigorate body and mind, daily huddles, short briefings to improve teamwork, an intense power hour for particularly tough tasks, as well as Graham's tactics for dealing efficiently with emails. And lastly, they must leave on time.
Mix and match a little bit, find the stuff that works for you, and then hopefully we'll make a massive impact on your productivity.
These rules might not work for everyone in every job, but we'll catch up with Unique Homestays over the week to see how they get on.
I think I'm expecting to just be more efficient, more effective with my workload.
I can't imagine the concept of a 6-hour day, if I'm honest.
For me, I think leaving on time will be really hard because I rarely leave at 5:30. I think the 6-hour workday will definitely help me to increase productivity. Obviously, a short amount of time, more concentrated, so you can get in, really focus, and get those tasks knocked out.
In such a short space of time, can this challenge really make a difference?
I'm a bit nervous that we're giving people a lot of things to think about. We're asking them to make a lot of changes in a short space of time. And my experience is that will almost inevitably fall down at times.
Britain used to lead the world in productivity, but more recently, while other countries quickly recovered after the financial crisis 7 or 8 years ago, we've been left further and further behind, overtaken by the likes of Germany, which you might expect, but France, Spain, even Belgium. Britain now languishes in 18th place.
One recent reason is that companies didn't lay off many workers during the recession despite losing money. So those remaining were producing less profit per person. Chief economist of the Bank of England, Andy Haldane, believes it'll take time to get our productivity back on track.
People are understandably a bit scarred, still a bit averse to taking on new things, to taking those risks. And of course, risk-taking is the essence of innovation, and innovation is the essence of productivity. We've seen those animal spirits, if you like, suffer a bit of a knockback as a result of the crisis.
This is what you might think of as productivity, man and machine in harmony. Nestle produces 14 million cups of coffee a day at this factory in Staffordshire. They've spent £200 million on new production lines and training their workers to use them. Dame Fiona Kendrick is the boss and a key business leader in the government's push for productivity.
It's people that drive productivity, and what our job is to make sure that they've got the tools and they've got the skills to be able to ensure that the output from their production line is maximised.
And maximised production means maximised profits.
Right now we're producing around 380,000 capsules a day, an increase of 27% from before the investment.
That's how they're doing it at Nestle, but across the country, productivity depends on lots of things. As we've heard, the companies we work for have to invest in modern equipment and training to improve our skills and knowledge of the job. But we also need infrastructure, like good road, rail and air links to get to where we need to be, as well as houses close to where we work to cut down travelling. And technology, like fast and reliable broadband and mobile phone signal to connect us wherever we are. When one of these factors breaks down, so does our productivity. Perhaps the most obvious and frustrating example of this is poor roads. Traffic jams hold up deliveries, waste our time and make the commute to work hell. Rachel Bridget lives in Rossendale. It's 17 miles north of Manchester in what's supposed to be prime commuter belt territory. After dropping off 2-year-old Lewis at nursery each morning, Rachel's fastest route to work is by road. But a journey that should take 40 minutes can often leave Rachel in traffic for up to 2 hours.
By the time you get to work, it's almost like you've already fought a battle just to get there. On a good day, I would like to be off the motorway at 8 o'clock, but now we're not even at Bury yet, so there's a good way yet to go on the motorway. Sandwiched between a tanker and a little van.
Over 40 years ago, there was a train service from Rossendale to Manchester, but now the only trains on these tracks are for tourists.
If you don't drive, then you would have to get the bus. There isn't any other option. It's just as frustrating, really.
After 1 hour and 40 minutes in the car, Rachel finally makes it into work.
It's 9:10, we've just got into work, and now we've got to get everything ready for the day, which should have been done 10 minutes ago. If the transport options were better, it would make life a lot easier.
The Chancellor of the Exchequer, George Osborne, claims to be the man with the productivity plan. Last year, he launched his bid to fix the foundations of Britain. But with some transport projects progressing at a snail's pace, his vision of productivity paradise still seems distant.
We spoke to somebody in Manchester. Her journey to work should take 40 minutes. It's taking an hour and 40 minutes. There are deep frustrations at an individual level, at a company level, and at a country level, aren't there?
Yeah, look, I think this is our great national challenge. You take improvements in our railways. We want to make sure more people can get to work more quickly. There are all sorts of people, you know, perfectly reasonably, who object to a new railway line going through their community, don't want the disruption of that, and it takes years to build these projects. Once they're built, they're actually often very popular locally, and I think, therefore, this whole attitude in our country, which is, you know, been rather anti-building, needs to change, and the encouraging thing is it is changing.
Are we a nation of shirkers or workers when you look at the productivity problem?
No, I think Britain's a nation of workers, but I think we have to up our game. You know, we are in a very competitive world, and of course, there are always 10 reasons not to try and improve a school, not to build a railway, not to build some new homes because people object to those homes being near them. I think that's not what made Britain great. You know,
are you frustrated by those attitudes?
No, I think actually Britain is changing. It's becoming easier to build these things.
Back in Cornwall, and the unique homestays team is 3 days into the challenge.
You need that turn for both properties.
Has working less actually worked? Walking meetings, 5-minute breaks, Graham's techniques are really being put to the test. After a 6-hour day, Francesca and Sarah are clocking off at 3 for a stroll on the beach.
I think there's been a couple of people that have been a bit dubious and a bit negative, perhaps, towards the change. We're all very used to our routine. And change, some people are a bit afraid of change, but on the whole, I think it's been quite positive.
I definitely think I've been more productive, having 6 hours and just being really focused and trying my hardest not to get distracted.
I think some people perhaps have abused the rules slightly. I mean, there's been standing up meetings that have gone on maybe for 20 minutes about one thing.
High levels of staff turnover, a skills gap, these are just some of the reasons why hospitality is 58% less productive than manufacturing.
Understanding how to measure productivity in the service sector isn't something that we've really grappled with. I'm almost certain that if you had an employee who, for the sake of argument, worked 40 hours a week and they achieved a certain amount of productivity, if you cut their hours to 30 hours and incentivize them to deliver the same output, I'm certain you could achieve that. Because I think what we do is we're very good at filling our time and looking very busy, but actually not being very productive.
It's difficult to tell in just a week whether our experiment in Cornwall really has the answers. But if we tried it for longer, could working less really make a difference? For an answer, we looked abroad.
For years, Sweden was the international superstar as far as productivity was concerned. They'd become amongst the best at it in the world. More recently, as in the UK, that ground to a halt. But here, they've come up with some creative ideas to get things moving again.
The Swedes are 15% more productive than us Brits. In Gothenburg, they're already testing the 6-hour day at Sahlgrenska University Hospital. Surgical nurses on one unit had suffered high levels of sick leave and low morale. Now, they're halfway through a fascinating trial.
So far, the sick leave is going down from a high level, but it's going down, and we expect it to drop even more. We know from interviews that the satisfaction from the staff regarding working environment has increased. We see that production has increased, and we see that we have a potential to increase that even more.
It's still early days, but they say they're already doing an astonishing 20% more operations, despite working shorter hours. For nurses like Marina and Gabrielle, it's transformed the hospital's atmosphere.
So if you're working 6 hours, you have fewer breaks. And how did you convince the managers that this was a good idea?
We don't have any time waste in the middle of the day. We just come and we go. And then we can perform more surgery. And that brings in money to the hospital.
So you come in and you focus on the job, you don't have the chit-chat?
I don't have the chit-chat.
And what do you do with the extra time that you have?
Yesterday I talked with two of my kids who came home from school. Just being a mother, I think the most important thing is to say that I'm resting.
And you're getting the balance between work and the rest of your life.
Yes, it's really, really good.
And you can see the benefits for Gabrielle. A busy shift, but free time to escape and unwind. Just up the road in Gothenburg, internet startup Football Addicts has taken the quest for productivity to a whole new level. They run one of the biggest football apps in Europe with 3 million active users a month. In this office of computer programmers, you can step away from your desk and re-energize. You can play table tennis, table football, football, shuffleboard. You can relax in the Zen room, the library, or the office ball pit.
I am, I admit, having fun, but am I being any more productive?
Chief Executive Patrick Arneson calls this office the best in the world.
The intention was not to create a cooler workplace, it was to create a great workplace where people can be productive.
Some people might accuse you of these as being gimmicks, but they're not gimmicks because you had to spend money on them. So what was the aim?
Yeah, so basically if you're stuck on a problem, you want to do two different things. You either go down and play football to get some more energy and clear your head, or you just want to go to the quiet zone like the library to just read a book and get more relaxed.
In fact, keeping some parts of the office quiet enough to think is one reason he says the team has doubled revenues in the past year. Something is clearly working here that we're missing.
You've been in office for over 5 years now, and productivity has barely budged at all in that time.
Well, look, 5 years ago, Britain was in crisis. Many people couldn't find work. The country was close to bankruptcy. We're vastly better off than we were 5 years ago.
But productivity in other countries has improved in that time.
Well, actually, all countries have had a problem with productivity, and it's partly to do with the collapse of the banking system. In the end, sometimes economists say you've got to choose between productivity and jobs. Now, I would rather have the jobs, frankly. I think now we've got people in work, we can really work on making sure that the output from those factories and those services and the like and the places where people work improves. And, that's the big challenge facing Britain now.
It's the end of the experiment in Cornwall, and I'm here to see whether the team's productivity has improved.
How has the week gone?
Personally, I found it really beneficial when we started at 9 until 3. I found my concentration was much better in the morning, and because I knew I had 2 hours less, I worked a lot better.
Do you honestly think you did as much as you would have done in an 8-hour day?
Yeah, because I knew I had to get a certain amount of work done in those 6 hours.
You're not so convinced about the 6-hour day?
No, in a nutshell. We're in a service industry. So people are calling us, really, when they've got time to call us, which really means outside of core office hours in some respects. It's not about rushing out the door at 5:30 or whenever. You can't say, I'm sorry, the phone, oh, it's 5:30. It's just not going to work.
What was the impact on you of having those enforced 5-minute breaks very regularly?
It was making sure I move away from the screen, because I can tend to sort of sit there and just say, yes, please, to tea and coffee, and not move much at all. It sort of forced me to work in a better way because, I had the little breaks away, came back fresh.
I know that you tried the email technique, a way of dealing with emails straight away, and you quite liked it.
I'm just a bad hoarder of emails, I think. So I've taken inspiration from some of my colleagues' inboxes this morning, and actually they look amazing, and the new sort of filing system, so I will definitely be looking to do that over coming weeks.
Stand-up meetings. Did it make you power through the agenda?
I think standing up, you have a sort of more positive attitude, perhaps. Also,
really? It had an impact on your mental approach?
You're more confident when you're standing up.
What about leaving on time?
For me, having the sort of pressure to leave after 6 hours, it did sort of force me out the door a little bit better.
What's the one technique that you think this is really working, we'd really like to keep this going?
The huddle. When I was actually in the office the first day, I thought that's brilliant. It's really great motivation for staff, a real good get-together, which is really important. Happy staff is so, so important within a business.
Clearly, the rules won't work for everyone, and this was just a short trial. But the team reports double the rate of increase in bookings in our week compared with the rest of the year. There were problems for some, which I put to Graham. The 6-hour day, those who were on it, they just couldn't compress the things they had to do into 6 hours.
I think certainly that's something that would perhaps come with a bit more time. I think with only a week, it's difficult to really make a seismic shift there.
Some of the people on the 6-hour day just felt guilty.
That does not surprise me one little bit. I think we are very much set up not just to work to our standard working hours, but to work over. There's this sort of disease of presenteeism. You know, you have to be seen to be working even when you're not working.
What you're identifying there is it's not just about the profits that a company's making. There's a wider aspect of this that really matters.
Completely, but I think, you know, here's the thing. Work-life balance and well-being are actually really good for productivity. I don't think it's an either-or equation.
So companies shouldn't be afraid to experiment and try different tricks to boost productivity. But how much should we turn the mirror on ourselves and ask, how productive am I?
I think that's valuable introspection to ask ourselves those questions. Are we ourselves using technology as wisely and efficiently as we might? And the pace of change is such that we almost certainly need to train and retrain many times during the course of our career. Adapting our educational system, adapting our mindset to that new world of work that's changing shape, maybe every decade.
I want to ask you about you, and you're number 2 in the country. What's your top tip for being more productive?
No, look, you know...
Oh, go on, you must have something that you do. How do you focus the way you work or become more efficient?
I would say, though, the thing that makes a big difference is being able to get to work easily. Now, you know, when you're the Chancellor, you have the advantage that you actually live where you work. So the journey to work doesn't take very long, but my job is to make sure everyone else's journey to work is a bit quicker.
100 years ago, a famous economist, John Maynard Keynes, he foresaw us working around 15 hours per week. That hasn't been realised yet, but looking forward from now, I think it is realistic to think that we will have a working week that's somewhat shorter than it is currently, and that will be made possible without detracting from living standards and incomes because of this boost to productivity.
We have a national problem with productivity. The government has more to do to provide a better connected society, to create the conditions in which we can thrive. But it's clear we can do more ourselves to fulfill our productivity potential. And working less might just be the future.
If you'd like more information about the programme and productivity expert Graham Allcott's top tips for improving your performance in the workplace, then head to our website at itv.com/tonight. In the meantime, though, good evening and thanks for watching.
Coming up next week, addicted to your smartphone? With many of us spending hours each day staring at our screens, has the time now come to give up our gadgets?
That's my whole life in there.
Laurel fears the worst. Next, we're back in Emmerdale. Then Sharon's not paying her way, and that's rustling up some trouble for the birds of a feather at 8:30. Then at 9, with the village finding out the truth about Johnny's true identity, there's drama to come in brand new Jericho.